while she could not even recognize his face. Oh, tell me, my darling son, pray tell me what they've done. How is it that you've come to be this way? He tried his best to talk, as his mouth could hardly move, and his mother had to turn her head away.
12 miles on a dirt road, huh?
Don't you remember?
This is a state highway.
This is a state highway.
You thought it was the best thing I could do.
Last Sunday morning, Lord, 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 you know when I heard Lord, 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 he took the longest shotgun, Lord, 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 and he went to the big woods, Lord, 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 along come the graces, Lord, 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 and he took it to his shore.
You're listening to XM15, The Village.
I had heard for a long time that Abraham Lincoln's favorite song was Dixie, and it always puzzled me. I thought, how could this Union president like
Can you rehearse that for us?
16th of August, year and a half ago, I had undergone 3 very hard chemo treatments that were supposed to get me into the transplants as a transplant candidate. I came to see the doctor. He looked at the results and he basically gave me the funeral speech. Took about 5 minutes. He said, "There's nothing else we can do for you. Go home and talk to the hospice. Enjoy what life you have left."
Her lymphoma was found to be bone marrow positive with 30% replacement of the marrow. Her treatments have consisted of rituximab, ifosfamide, carboplatin, etoposide, cyclophosphamide, doxorubicin, vincristine, prednisolone, tositumumab, radioactive iodine. Despite this, bulky abdominal disease persisted as of April 2008. There were no treatments left, as she had been declared refractory to chemotherapy.
My immune system was completely shot at that time and was not recovering, which was the ominous part. My platelets were hovering around, I think, 15 and just sitting there. And it was one of the worst days of my life. We came home in utter shock. My impression is that the doctor was looking for warm bodies for the transplant program, and once I was no longer a candidate, he dropped me. I mourned for 2 weeks, and then I got really mad and started calling around and talked to all the cancer centers across the land, which was another infuriating experience because they send you from one place to another and nobody has the answers. And I finally was able to pin it down to 2 hopeful places, Denver and Omaha, and we traveled there. Omaha had nothing to offer, but Denver had a clinical trial that I got accepted into and that I think helped me and gave me the window of opportunity to begin Coley's. And since I've begun Coley's, I have no longer been dying.
God, I love your smile. and you had a bulk of disease before. It was mostly in the abdomen, was it?
Mostly in the abdomen, tremendous masses in the abdomen. My largest node was 14 centimeters across, the way I remember it. And I had, my abdomen was full of ascites. When I began chemotherapy, they actually had to drain me first because I was in such tremendous discomfort. Mm-hmm. The chemotherapy did help some, but then it stopped working. That was the problem. Mm-hmm. Started Coley's in March last year, and I was at the Chipsa hospital for 2 weeks, and they started me on the diet and the juicing and the enemas and everything. The Coley's was at that time minimal because they were very careful with the dosing and so increasing by tiny amounts. And then I drove home and I did the Coleys on the trip several times. And of course, the worst one was in Flagstaff, right after I ate a really good Indian dinner, and all of a sudden I got so sick from colies. I had no idea what hit me. But I was prepared with blankets and survived it, and got home and started doing it regularly. And then I just got too sick. But I had tremendous faith. I knew that this stuff worked. And so I just kept saying to myself, it doesn't matter, I'll just keep doing it, and I'll just keep doing it, because it works. And Will Coley is smiling in heaven. So then I got too ill from it. This is about May, and so I gave myself a few weeks off. My hemoglobin was just too low, and I was miserable. And then I restarted it, and after a couple of weeks, a few weeks of it, all of a sudden, I touched my groin, and it was shrinking. And it wasn't pretend shrinking, it was real shrinking. And I waited a little bit more, and then I told Cameron, my caregiver, I took him by the hand and I walked him over to the fence, and we looked out on the prairie, and I said, it's working. Then, again, it made me progressively iller and iller and iller, but once I quit and I waited for my quarterly checkups, I recovered, and I went to Denver to find out that there's been a dramatic shrinkage of all the masses, and I was feeling on top of the world.
How did you do that? Can you do that without reading it? I mean, just to say it. If you do, you know, pretend I'm Tom Harkin, you know?
Yeah.
And just say it right to me.
Stop playing political games with cancer patients' lives.
You know, we're good.
Give non-conventional treatments a real trial, a real honest trial. The results will help everyone and will put the real quacks out of business. Use the NIH alternative cancer money to do these trials instead of doing these phony can yoga help AIDS patients nonsense. Use it for real things, controversial things. People interested in all sorts of stuff out there, and they need to be able to sift the good from the bad. So help us.